This is Texans TV.
Hello, and welcome to Texans 360. My name's Drew Doherty. I'm your host, and here we are in downtown Houston on a beautiful summer day. This, an important summer for the Houston Texans, as 2024 promises to be a big one on the field during the regular season. That summer, though, bracketed at the start with OTAs and minicamp, and at the end with the preseason and training camp. But right there in early August 3rd to be exact, Andre Johnson goes into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. So this is a perfect opportunity to look back at the journey he took to get there. And it doesn't just include his time here in Houston. You got to go back to Miami for that. And helping us make that happen is Kalu, longtime defensive lineman, a Texan as well, and a teammate of Andre Johnson's. And those two went in depth in studio for a fantastic conversation.
Welcome in another edition of OG Podcast, where we get a chance to talk to some of the OGs in the NFL who came through the Houston Texan locker room. Today's a very, very special day. This man needs no introduction. I don't need to go through his stats, his years, everything that he accomplished. All I have to do is say three words: Hall of Fame. The first Houston Texan Hall of Famer, Andre Johnson, sitting down with us. OG Podcast, welcome in, my brother, and congratulations.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for having me.
First of all, appreciate you for, I've been trying to get you in the studio for 10 years now, so I'm glad I finally got you. But does it ever get, we're going to be transparent. We're going to have some fun here. Do you ever get annoyed or like, oh, here we go again, another congratulations on the Hall of Fame? Because as soon as I heard about it, and I just told you, I was sitting in my living room and I was screaming like it was my blood brother when I found out. But I know every time somebody sees you, they want to hear the story, they want to congratulate you. Are you getting tired of it yet?
Nah, actually, I don't think it's something you can really get tired of, man. For me, it's just it just like just the city of Houston and what it means to everybody. You know, like your teammates, coaches. You know, I got a chance to see Coach Kubiak this weekend, and it's like, it's like they made it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so exciting for everybody. So I don't think it's something you could get tired of because it's made so many people so happy. You know, so I think for me, I just enjoy that. Like I don't want it to be just about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you went to battle on the field together, so I want you to feel a part of that too. So I think that's what makes it special because everybody else feels a part of it.
You know, what you just said, I think that's why so many of your teammates, that you played with, even guys that you weren't that close with, were so excited because of how genuine you are. Like in my 12 years, I played with like 6 Hall of Famers. Right. I was never more excited than when I heard your name. And if Brian Dawkins was sitting here, I would literally say the same thing. It's because of what you just said and how humble you were. I'll never forget my first week here, and you won't remember this conversation, but I remember after a week of practice, I pulled you aside and I was like, man, you practice like a rookie trying to make the team. And I'll never forget, you said, that's the only way I know. Like, you weren't even like, oh, thanks, man. It's because you were like, it was almost like you were saying that's a stupid-ass statement because that's the only way I know how to go. But I don't know if you realize how that resonates with your teammates. Like, just kind of talk about that thought process.
It's, so for me as a player, I just always was like, because, you coming into the NFL and you hear the story, so it's always the story, they're going to try to replace you every year. So I just had a mindset where I was like, I ain't going to give them no reason to replace me, like that. And that's how I approached it. And it was never in a selfish way, though. Like, I always wanted to help and bring other guys along with me. So that was just always my approach. I'm going to go out here, I'm going to work my ass off, and whoever want to follow, going to follow, and who don't, they not. And, they'll fall off on the wayside. So that was just always my approach to it.
When did you realize, because when you hear leader, you think of the rah-rah guys, and I'm not saying in a negative way. Like, DeMeco Ryans was a leader, but it was obviously the way he carried himself and the things he said. you're a quiet leader. Like the few times you said something, I was like, hey, shut up, man. Like when did you realize, like, man, my voice has power? Like about what year in the league did you realize that?
Man, this is crazy. I remember my rookie year. Jonathan Wells probably could tell you about this story. Dom Capers was our head coach when I first got here. And I remember, like, man, like, you know, Dom, old school, like, you grinding every day. And dudes was, like, really, like, beat down, like, you know, just tired, you know. And it was like, Dre, man, you the only person he'll listen to.
As a rookie.
So I'm like, what? They was like, I'm talking about it was like, it was so funny, bro. We were sitting in the team lounge, and I got all these veteran dudes around me telling me what I need to say to Dom Capers. So I go up there, I say what I say to him, and, you know, they told me everything what to say. It was all planned out. And, you know, he actually listened. And but I think in that moment, it was just like, even though I was a rookie, and another story, we was playing against Buffalo. I think it was either my second or third year in the league. Jay Wells, same dude, he came up to me, he was like, man, you need to speak to the team before the game. And like, that was my first time ever doing that, like, in my life. Like, in all my years of playing football.
High school, college.
First time ever, like, I actually spoke in front of the team.
Interesting.
And the way, like, the dudes was listening to what I'm saying, like, it was just kind of like, damn, like they, you know, it's a sense of respect, you know. So I'll probably say that's probably the first time I really, really, like, realized, because it was the first time I ever did it.
Coming up, the U, where Andre Johnson became a star.
I had 2 knee braces. My knees were hurt. But when I saw you working, I was like, you know what? I need to step it up. Like, I actually thought that I need to step it up. Like, could you sense, like, even though I'm not a vocal guy, guys are kind of getting in line?
Well, I just, for me, man, like, I had some great guys, like, in college, like Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne, you know, guys I played behind. If you know, I always tell people those are like my big brothers. Like, that's where I learned that from. Like, if you saw these guys, like, work. Like, I remember my receiver coach, Curtis Johnson. He was, you know, I was a freshman. And, you know, back then we had freshman practice before the veteran guys would come in. And he was like, don't worry, wait till these other guys, wait till Santana and Reggie them get here. Y'all gonna really see what it is. Cause like, our first day, me, Kevin Beard, this other guy named Anthony Johnson, like, man, he used to make us do cone drills before. Like, that was our first thing we would do, like, right out of warm-ups. And we would be, like, dead. Like, and I didn't really realize, like, how great a shape you had to get in. Like, all that was a real, like, learning experience for me. So, but just being around those guys, Santana and Reggie, like, they gave me, like, the blueprint of what it was as far as, like, just working and grinding and really working on your craft, you know, as a wide receiver. So,
you know, that's interesting because everyone always talks about the culture, but it sounds like y'all really had the culture of when you get to the U. And for those under a rock who don't know, he went to Miami. Once you get there, you know you're going to have to put in the work. Michael Irvin, way before your time, they even had that same mentality. So do you even know where it started from as far as that culture?
Well, I mean, it had to start from the guys that was, you know.
From the 80s, maybe?
Yeah. I think Mike, Lonzo Highsmith, Jerome Brown, God rest his soul, all those guys, like, they laid the foundation, you know, and it was a standard that was set. Like, you knew when you went to the University of Miami, it was a certain standard. You had to carry yourself a certain way. But at the same time, it was just like, when you come out that tunnel on Saturday, it was you would see so many guys, like former players, like the support was crazy. So, and you ain't want to let them dudes down because for me, I grew up watching it, you know, so I knew what it was about. And as a kid, I used to always be like, man, I want to be a part of that. Like, it's something special about, you know, them dudes that wear that U on their helmet. So I always wanted to be a part of it. And, you know, when you got there, man, like, man, I done seen dudes get called out. And we used to have some couches set up in the locker room. We used to call it the ring. And you weren't doing what you were supposed to do. You had to get in that ring. Like, it was like that.
And
like,
do what? Can you say?
Oh yeah, nah, you gonna wrestle.
Okay.
Like,
with somebody who called you out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's going down. Like,
so what's real about that? If you call someone out, you better handle your business.
Yeah.
So
most definitely. But if somebody called you out, trust me, you're gonna be in for a fight. Like, it was just different, man. I tell people all the time because they always be like, man, how was it at Miami? I'm like, man, like, I don't think words can really describe it. You had to be there to see it. But it was a standard, like, man, you might have had some guys that didn't get along, but when we got on that football field, we knew it was about one thing and one thing only, you know. So that's what made it special, man. I tell people all the time, that was some of the best days of my life.
I'm getting goosebumps listening to that because I could feel it, but I didn't experience that in my college, which is kind of hard to believe considering I went to Rice. You probably thought we had that same, you know, don't laugh too hard, but you know that I'm getting goosebumps listening, and you kind of answered what my next question was going to be. I was going to ask you, but it sounds like from day one you knew that was the school you wanted to go to. Yeah. When did you know that was going to be a reality? Like, what year in high school?
So I'll probably say my it probably didn't really hit me until my senior year. I think for me, I was just kind of enjoying high school, you know, while I was there. And I remember my high school coach one day, he put me to the side. He's like, hey, man, like, you don't talk about college. Like, you don't talk about nothing. Like, he was like, what you plan on doing? You know, like, I was just focused on, I was just having fun playing football, man. Like, you know, I'm a kid. Like, so, but I remember my senior year, he put me to the side. He was just like, you know, what schools you like, you know. So he was like, if you had to give me 5 schools, give me 5 schools. So that's kind of like where it started. Like, when I really started taking I always wanted to go to college, but I just didn't, you know, I ain't really know the whole process of getting cleared by the clearinghouse and have to, you know, to do certain stuff before you're able to go. But so that's when it kind of like really took off. And like once he told me about it, that's when I really just like, after that, it was just like, okay, I need to do this. I need to make sure I got a certain GPA, got to take my SAT, ACT, all that stuff. So it was, I'd probably say the summer of going into my senior year was when it really like just kind of hit me.
After the break, knock, knock, knock. A trip to the front door that Andre Johnson will never forget.
How'd you truly find out? What was it? What we saw on TV, the knock on the door, or was that more just for the cameras? Like, did you?
No,
know
that was actually. I actually didn't know.
So before the knock, you didn't know you were about to be in.
Bro, I had no clue.
Really?
Yeah.
So somebody set that up good.
Yeah. So Kennard, my agent, he set it up. So I was. When I tell people this story, they laugh. So he told me. He called me one day. He was like, "Hey man, I need to come by the house. Me and my wife, we're gonna come by the house on Thursday, and I need you to." He said, "I'm changing my will," and he was like, "His dad is, you know, going through cancer." He said his sister had cancer, so it made sense, you know, like when he was telling me. So he was like, man, I just want to, you know, if something ever happened to me, I just want to make sure my son is okay, and I want you to be the person to be responsible for him. So he was like, I'm going to have my lawyer come over, you know, sign some papers. And he was like, but we got to have 2 witnesses.
Woo, he said this up good.
I'm like, okay. He was like, so your mom and your brother gonna be the witnesses. So I was like, all right, cool. So, bro, I ain't thinking nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, we can get this over with. I go on about my day, you know what I'm saying? So, we're at the house, and my mom, my brother comes.
So is he already there?
He gets there first.
Gotcha.
Him and his wife, and then my mom and my mom gets there next. Then my brother gets there like 2 minutes after her.
And obviously they know.
They don't know.
Oh, let me
He
shut
the
up
only
then.
one.
Okay, so they don't know either.
No, he the only one who know. That's why my mom screamed when I opened the door.
Yeah.
She had no clue. So, we at the house, and he gives this whole speech about, hey, you know, obviously we know why we here, what's going on, and you know, I'm changing my will, blah blah blah. You know, I just want Andre to be responsible for little Kennard. Gives a whole speech.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, all right, like, you know, I'm like,
Yeah,
you ain't got to
let's
be
get
doing
this
all
over
that.
with.
Like, let's get this over. Let's sign these papers. So he busts out and say, well, the lawyer's plane, his flight was delayed. So he was like, he'll be about 30 minutes late. So I was like, all right. My brother, him and his girlfriend just had a baby boy. So he had his son with him. So my nephew. I grab my nephew, I go outside, and I'm just walking around the backyard, walking around the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother came outside. He was like, hey, Kennard say, come in the house. So I'm thinking like, okay, the lawyer here, like, we finna sign these papers and we going about our business. So I go in, I get my brother, his son back, and I'm kind of like standing in the kitchen, and cause I think I went to get like a bottle of water or something.
Uh-huh.
And then I hear this knock at the door. So Kennard was like, hey man, grab that. So I was like, all right, like, but I'm in my head, I'm like, why you can't grab it?
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
know, like, it's your lawyer, like, you
Right.
need to grab it. So, but I ain't thinking, I'm just like, yeah, all right. So the way my house is, like, I had to kind of like walk around because I can't see the front door from where I'm standing at. So when I walked out, I seen, like, you can't see who's out. You can make out what's outside, but you can't tell who it is.
Okay.
So I could tell there's somebody standing there, but I can't see, like,
So you
who
still
it
don't
is.
know?
No, that's when I knew. When they knocked on the door and I walked around and I saw it, I was like, I know this is not about to happen. Like, I was like, I know this is not about to happen right now. Cause I could see a guy, I could see a camera, and I could see a guy in a gold jacket. So like, I'm just like, bro, I'm literally walking to the door and I'm nervous as hell. Like,
Wow.
I'm like, man, like, I know this is not about to happen. So when I opened the door and I saw Chris, I was just kind of like, that's why, like, you saw, like, I just turned around and put my hand around my mouth. And I was just like, damn, like I did, like I made it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kennard because that's an elaborate plan right
Yeah.
there.
And the crazy thing, Cal already knew, but he didn't tell Hannah.
Okay.
But the funny thing was, me, Cal, and Hannah and Travis, we was at the Rockets game the night before it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because Cal asked me, he said, you think you gonna get in this year? But he already knew the answer. So I told him, I said, yeah, I said, if it's any year that I felt the most confident about it, it was this year. And he was like, oh, okay. So when I called and informed him I made it, he was like, oh, I already knew.
Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah, so it was a good time.
One final segment of Texans 360, and you know, we couldn't have gone this whole show without talking about the scuffle between Andre Johnson and Courland Finnegan.
You know, I done played against a lot of guys, and dudes talk a little trash on the field.
Right.
But it's just certain shit. Like, we grown men.
Yeah.
Certain stuff you just don't say.
Okay.
And he was talking kind of reckless, and I was just kind of, we exchanged a few words. Fast forward, we come back, we play here, and he just kept like hitting me up under my helmet. And if you go back, I was mic'd up.
Mm-hmm.
That was a crazy thing. I was mic'd up that game, and I told the ref, like, I was like, hey, like, he was like, oh, I'm watching him, and after that, we was up 20-0, and I was just like, I was sitting on the sideline. I was just like, you know what? I was like, I'm just finna beat it. And that's just how it went. Like, it wasn't even, because I don't know what it was. I just was sitting on the sideline, and I looked up at the scoreboard, and I saw the score, and I was like, we got this on the wrap. So I was like, I'm gonna do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's only once you could have not just a Hall of Famer, but the first ever, and they can never take that away from him, first ever Hall of Famer in the organization's history, Andre Johnson. Appreciate the time. I'm gonna have to get with Candace so we could do a part 2, 3, 4, and 5 because there's so much I want to talk to you. But man, I know you're busy. Like I said, in the words can't express how proud and happy we are for you. So congratulations and thanks for jumping in with us.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for our most special episode of the OG podcast. I'm Indy Kalu. That was Andre Johnson, a.k.a. HOF. We got to find a new nickname for him. That gold jacket, gold GJ. Nah, I'm gonna work on it. We're gonna find a new nickname for my man Andre Johnson, so we all realize we're talking to a Hall of Famer. We appreciate you, the listener. Don't touch that dial.